Hi everybody, it's
All
Russ. Hi everybody, it's Russ from My Hammers 11. I hope you're safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so you're notified anytime we put up new videos. We have videos going up daily. Sometimes, you lucky buggers, we have 2 videos going up a day. So we've got loads of great guests. We're almost hitting our 50th guest coming up very, very soon as well. And we've got a great guest today. You'll know her. She's part of a good group of people we've got coming up soon, group of fans. It's Jacqui Hughes. Hi, Jacqui. How are you?
Hello, Russ. I'm good, thanks. Considering.
All things considered.
Yeah.
All things considered.
Yeah.
And that's what
considering we're locked down.
Considering we're locked down, hopefully things will start easing off a little bit soon. They seem to be a little bit, but as you said, baby steps, almost dipping your toe in the water like it's a swimming pool, it seems at the moment, and to check the temperature. But things seem to be hopefully moving the right direction. Obviously, hopefully, a few weeks' time, we may even have some football to watch. So,
yeah, hopefully.
Who knows? But anyway, that's how this channel started, because obviously people were missing football and missing West Ham, and so that's what happened. So we started interviewing fans all over the world, different age groups, about their sort of memories and also their Hammers 11. So in terms of you, Jacqui, what was your sort of first memories of West Ham?
Well, it was always a family thing.
Yeah.
So if I went with my first memories, they were not about the games. No. They were just that as a child, when you were born, you were West Ham in the same way that you was a particular religion. So, I actually didn't think other football teams existed. I didn't, it was an age where I didn't realise that you played against other teams. It was just, you were West Ham. So, yeah. So for me, that would be my earliest memories.
Yeah.
And then going with my granddad and my dad, sister and brother, around the mid-50s, 60s. Good God!
You just whacked 10 years on your age there, Jacqui.
Well, I feel like I have in this bloody lockdown. But there you go. So yeah, that was, we were going as and sort of people know my story, which I will tell anyway. Yes. For those that don't. But my granddad was born in 1890, but his father had died 2 months before he was born. Sure. So there was my great nan stuck with 2 boys and pregnant with my granddad. So she went into the workhouse, and the 2 boys went into an industrial school for pauper children. And it was situated in Green Street, which was then Gypsy Lane. So that's where the boys went. And then, as I say, my granddad was born in the workhouse and lived in workhouse over in Wapping. And my great nan also died in that workhouse 5 years later. So then there was my granddad as a 5-year-old. He joined his brothers in Green Street. Now, that would have been 95. You've got to remember, 1985. Yeah. You've got to remember that the boys had lost their dad overnight, their mum, because they were parted. And so the story was that, obviously, that was when 95 when Grandad was born, was the same year when Grandad went to the paupers home. Was the same year that West Ham formed as Thames Ironworks.
Yeah.
So they moved over from the Memorial Ground, which the other half of my family, I might add, all lived around that area: Canning Town, Barking Road, Plaistow.
Yeah.
And Grandad's family previous to that were Whitechapel, but coming across to the home meant that they were also surrounding the ground. Weren't to know that. So Grandad always told us how they were taken to watch the games once they moved across to the bowling ground, which I think was 1904, something like that, around that time. And obviously they'd formed, were West Ham I think 1900, they changed to being West Ham. So that's the story. It's in our blood.
Yes.
Every generation.
Literally, it literally is.
Literally.
Yeah.
That's how I feel anyway.
Yeah.
And he never talked about the home. My dad said he never talked about the home.
No.
But, you know, when they'd be walking down, he never spoke about it, but he always talked about the memories of going and watching the games, because they could watch over the fence, literally. So it must have been fantastic for these poor kids that were in an industrial school, which means they worked them as well. So that's the history, really.
Wow.
And so my earliest memories always were going with Grandad. He went into the seats because the older he got, and they had the seats.
Yeah.
But we always stood right by the tunnel. That was our place.
Yeah.
So we had little stools that we used to put around our waist to get in and stand on them. And they were amazing people. Yeah. And so for me, it's always been about the occasion.
Yes.
You know, if you asked me to remember my first game, I couldn't. The boys will remember who crossed here and who done that, and I can't. No. But the whole thing about it being an occasion that we shared with other people, you know, the people that stood around us used to buy us birthday cards, and we'd have a little, you know, where you had to guess the crowd capacity. So everybody would put 10p in, and the closest that was told at half time would win the little pot, you know. Sweet. Yeah, they were lovely people, and I just loved it. Particularly evening games, reserve matches on a Sunday, because it wasn't, you couldn't go to away matches, we couldn't have afforded that. But so they're my memories, really, and all those great players.
Well, especially from especially sort of the mid '60s. In essence, you came into it right in the heyday. So you know
absolutely,
and as you said, that's what's coming out of all these interviews. And it's about football, it's about West Ham players and stuff like that. But it's not. It's so much more. It's all about this sort of sense of community and the family, and it's so nice to hear, because you know, you hear stories. I mean, obviously, you know, you literally are a stone's throw away from the ground. Your family always have been.
Yeah.
When you hear the stories like the Scandinavian Hammers and people like that, who they haven't,
brilliant.
You know, like German Holtz, like that. Honestly, it's like that opened my eyes so much to those people, and you just think, God, you know, and the whole channel was developed because of this community. Obviously, you know, Phil Whelan's obviously suggested you and a few others, and you've suggested other people, and he suggested, you know, and that's what's lovely about it. You get this real sense of community, and you know, at a time where there's a lot of fragmentation in the fan base. I don't think as much as other clubs, based on looking at, you know, Arsenal fan TV and stuff like that, but there is still this like togetherness, and I think as soon as everyone gets back together in the stadium, the better. I think.
It's a common denominator, really, isn't it? And I don't know how that is, but you know, well, certain people, obviously not all, but you know, they've kept me going. Some of those groups that I've got, you know, smaller groups I'm talking, and they're just to be able to call them friends is an amazing thing. When you know, you met. I met most of them through Stop Hammer Time, which I will be forever grateful to. You know, and I loved the live podcast. Got to meet some of my legends, if you like. Well, they were, but so great. They're great.
Yeah. There is, and everyone's been so generous with their time, because I think you know, it gives you a great opportunity to look back at things. I know Robert Banks, obviously, he's putting all the end of season reviews on YouTube and stuff, and so you get to watch a lot of football that maybe you haven't had time to watch, and just memories and stuff, and you think, oh my God, I forgot about. And that's the whole thing around the Hammers 11 as well, because people are going back, and as you said, you know, you've been spending a lot of time agonising, a bit like sort of, you know, X Factor, you know, when they decide who's in their group. You know, late nights with Polaroids.
Them.
Yeah, exactly.
I was still swapping names around an hour before this interview. I was like, oh, for God's sake,
it's great.
It would be easy.
Everyone thinks it's so easy. You sit there, and then when you start thinking about people, and you might go back and look at videos, or go back and look at, I don't know, people you might have forgotten. You go, Christ, I forgot about, you know, me. You know, my ear is sort of a little bit little bit sort of later on than you, Jacqui. You know, mine was sort of early
Really?
90s. Yeah, slightly, sort of early 90s, and I totally had this, you know, newfound appreciation for people like Tim Breaker, who I always saw on the tip, and I always thought, yeah, he's a good player, but he was always he was just like on the team sheet. But actually, watching his highlights again, you're like, God, you know, and talking to people like Kenny Brown and people like that, and Tony Gale, they're like, you know, you get these new players in, and you start going, yeah, Christ, and you forget how many players have come and gone as well. Even in my
the ones I've picked though, you know, over the years, you watch players come and go, managers come and go. Well, more recently, because again, it's something that the modern game is just something that I can't, you know, we were all about embedding players, you know, managers stayed forever. And we didn't even question the managers and their choices. Now, it's like everybody's an armchair manager. But you really would come out of a game and go, good game. You know, there was no more in between. That was a good game. Might have a little chat with someone or go, oh, that was a great goal. And but you never said, what was the manager? I don't remember that. Maybe because I was younger. But there wasn't any of that pulling the whole thing to pieces.
Overanalyzing it.
And having an opinion on, you know, what he should have done or not done. So,
well, it's true.
And obviously, I had Ron Greenwood and Lyle were the managers. They were,
exactly, so, and they were there for them. And that's something that's been picked up as well. You know, actually, when I was talking to Tony Gale about it, you know, we were talking about, you know, I was talking about his testimonial against when he had Republic of Ireland. His testimonial, how he buggered, and he admitted he buggered up the. You know, it was on the Sunday and they played on the Saturday and only got 8,000 and he maybe the scheduling wasn't great for him. But he said that was, you know, he had a period and I think there was 11 or 10 testimonial years in his lifetime at West Ham. The testimonial itself is a concept which is almost non-existent nowadays in modern game. You know, Mark obviously had ridiculous. One. Vincent Kompany had one. I think Jamie Carragher had one. It's not just West Ham; it's across the board. You know, if you get 3 years out of a player, you've done well. You know, someone like obviously Ginger Pele was, you know, it was 9 years, wasn't he? And all in.
Oh, I love Ginger Pele.
And I mean, someone like Cresswell probably he's been there for a long time. Not 10 years yet, but you know that's a long player.
I know.
It's crazy.
Obviously, but obviously we had Noble's testimonial, which was a fantastic game. For two reasons, because actually I did a small thing on it because I did the comparison with Nobles and Bobby Moore's, which I was against Celtic, which was the most memorable game of my life. That because it had everything and it was under the lights and just they put out a fantastic team but anyway that. And then with Noble's testimonial, it was the last game my dad ever went to.
Oh, okay, yes.
And it was at the Bowling. And then when we moved, he was quite clear that he didn't want to go and see them play. He's in a home, he's got dementia. So it's not that long ago, really. Oh, yeah, they're both memorable to me, probably because of my dad and what that means. So yeah, and in those days obviously it was a way of being rewarded financially. So
it was the
higher gate you could get, the more money you was gonna you know profit out of it. So I think it's sad that it's lost.
It's sad. It's more of a rare. It's such a rarity nowadays, isn't it, that a player will stay more than 5 years, let alone 10 years. Yeah, I mean, I've got my double test, my 20-year anniversary in a couple of seasons' time. I'm working for the club, so yeah, I'm sure there'll be a testimonial match for me. So
yeah,
I must have missed it. I must have missed the 10-year one. I must have been busy. Right. Anyway, let's move on to your 11, Jack.
Yeah,
I know you played a lot of time in it, and I'm looking forward to it. As I said,
I didn't actually. I sort of came out with them, so I'll put that there, and sort of went back on it, and Is there an order that we've got to give
Yeah,
these in?
yeah. We'll try and go through it. As I said, the only caveat is that you've been around to see them play, and
Yeah,
mid-60s onwards, you've got probably the best time frame to go through in terms of your fan club.
I think so. I am privileged in that.
You're very very privileged indeed. Right, okay, Jacqui, let's go in goal. Let's go in goal.
Yeah, so I've been lucky enough to have watched live Jim Standen. But at the time that we were going regularly, that would have been slightly earlier, but we had Fergie, which was our goalkeeper at the time, Robert Ferguson. We also had Peter Grotier, Mervyn Day, who I liked more because he was young. He was only about 17 or 18.
Yeah.
You got to remember, as a young girl, I looked at the players as, who am I in with a chance with? So, would you look at me?
Exactly, particularly standing by the tunnel, yeah.
Exactly. I had a soft spot for Johnny Ayres for the same reason.
Yeah.
I thought, it's possible. He's little and he's young. Not that I would have known what to do, but there you go. All the big girls got the first team players.
Yeah.
And I used to watch on and think, oh, she's so gorgeous. She's so, so that was also part of my experience to watch all that, but what I've done is I've chosen Phil Parkes.
Yeah.
Because he comes in the era that I've gone sort of 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
And Phil joined us in 79, so I've just squeezed him in. And it's because he is my favourite player.
Yeah.
And I think that my favourite goalkeeper, and I do love a goalkeeper. I think, the transfer was history breaking, and it was over $500,000.
Yeah.
And I think he earned every single penny of that money that we paid for him over the next 10 or more years. And now I've become friends with Marie Parkes, good friends with Marie.
Yeah.
And so I've got to know them on that personal side. And he's just such a lovely man. And so that's why I've put Phil in.
Yeah. Yeah. What can you say?
That's my goalkeeper.
That sounds good.
So I think he's the one that I've squeezed in furthest away. The rest sort of come under the era where I was watching them every week. I think I'll have to look. So
that's good. Good start.
So you want my left back?
Yeah, let's go left back then. If you
Frank Senior.
Frank Senior, yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt, he was first in.
Yeah.
Again, I loved him. I absolutely loved him, and he used to have a market stall that I helped out on, and so I've got so many stories. But we had a lock-up shop. My dad did the markets, so Frank had a stall that sold clothing.
Yeah.
And so I used to work on that with his mum and his sister.
Oh.
And I remember that they were going off on tour one day, and they stopped the coach outside, and Frank came in to say goodbye to his mum, where they were going off. And also Harry Redknapp had a stall in there as well. It was, pots and pans or whatever you call it. But a lot of the players got off the coach. They were all in their jackets, looking smart, and they all came in to say goodbye to Frank's mum. So that was another one of those moments where you go, oh. So I've got loads of memories. And of course, it's great. You go to school on the Monday and you're like, yeah, of course I wasn't talking to Jeff first, but you embellish it a bit, don't you, to get...
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, let's touch you. You've been near,
You've been in the same air.
Yeah. So it was good. And my dad got into, he had haulage company, Frank, as well. I don't know if you remember that. And so Dad got into haulage through Frank as well. And they had the same accountant with, I think, Patsy Holland and Frank all had the same accountant, and Dad. So yeah, that's there.
Yeah,
My next choice.
I mean, Frank was 600 games. 600 games to the club. I don't think he gets enough credit in the modern world, so to speak, as Billy and Bobby and stuff. And he played 600. He played more games than a lot of players. He's one top. But I agree. Okay, right. I put Frank on the left. Who's gonna go right back then? Jackie will go right back, other side.
Well, this one is. Means a great deal to me.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, well, I'll tell you it's John Charles.
Yeah.
And why it means so much, because that era that I was watching in the early 70s is when racism started to show its ugly face. And so for me, it was how I learned about racism, because it's the first time I can't remember having black people even in my neighbourhood at that time.
Yeah, sure.
And because we lived out in Essex by then. And so the first time really that I saw black people was through the players at West Ham.
Yeah.
And then when the racism started, I'll get onto that later, actually.
Sure.
I'm going to pick John. And actually, he says that he didn't experience much racism when you read about those days. So I wondered if it came later.
Maybe.
With all the troubles on the terraces and...
Possibly,
I don't know. I don't know, but... it certainly was rife when I was watching later. So I just wonder if it was because he was one of the first. And he was the first. He was the first black player for West Ham and England and football. So he was a pioneer in absolutely every sense. And, in 1972, Ron Greenwood put out again, breaking making history. The first 3 black players for West Ham.
Yeah.
So it was John Charles, his younger brother Clive, and A.D. Coker. So that was against Spurs, by the way. So it was that was again something that I wanted to get in there. That and he was a great player. And again, the link with John later is again through the markets. He had a fruit and veg stall, and so we used to do a market. One of the markets we did was Club Row.
Yeah.
We did do Club Row, but this was Crayford, the old Greyhound Stadium, and he had a fruit and veg stall there, and he was just again the loveliest man. Yeah. So a lot of these I'm going with my heart as well.
No, that's the idea, and that's the idea. The people close to
you. And had a sad ending really, but to his life, and died quite young really. But so I've put him in there.
Yeah, it's nice.
And that's
he's a good. It's a fantastic shout, and I think it's going to really annoy me. We actually John Charles came up before in someone else's 11. I can't. It's going to really annoy me now. Yeah, and the story was that it was the first player, Gordon Thrower. That was who it was.
Gordon. Well, I know Gordon.
It was the first. Yeah, that was it. God dear, we've done almost 50, and I still remember it. Gordon Thrower, because John Charles was the first football player he met.
Wow.
In the director's tea room. At the ground. Yeah.
No, but I bet he didn't rub his head, which is what I did. My place, people know this as well. My brother found, I don't know how, but he just sent me a photo one day. And I thought, why has he sent me this? And it was Moro coming out through the tunnel. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, it's me. And there I am at the top of the tunnel. And I probably was the most annoying child of all for the players. Yeah. And the tunnel was actually quite narrow then. So it's not like they could swerve me.
Yeah.
And as they came out, I used to tussle their hair. Good luck, boys. Good luck, boys.
Oh,
and they do this, like, she's messed my hair up.
Cobwebs.
Can you imagine that? So they've just got it just right. So,
brilliant.
yeah, so that was you know,
your thing.
And again, this is awful, but I remember my brother or my sister saying to me, what did his hair feel like? Because we'd never come that close to a black person.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And it was, I know that's vivid in my head, that, you know, so,
of course it is.
They're all just all part of.
Yeah, no, exactly. We'll put John Charles in. Okay, let's go centre back. Who's your first centre back then, Jacqui?
I'm picking Morrow for that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I'm not going to say too much more because I've got just that I wanted him in my team.
Yeah,
he was, you know, he's Bobby Moore. I haven't got to say any more, really.
As you said, you're privileged enough to watch him.
He was loved. Again, another gentleman. Absolute gentleman, you know. I did like the players with more characters, and I like, you know, the hard men a little bit, the ones that were
West Ham fans do,
hard, but not mean, you know. They would, but Bobby Moore, you just felt that, you know, nothing could go wrong with him at the helm.
Sure,
he just,
I get it.
You know, you felt calm. Everything he did was calm, and
it's not much more you can say, is there? To be honest, he was more. Who's more going to partner then in midfield in the centre back?
Well, I've chosen again someone a little bit later, but couldn't miss him out. Alvin Martin.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure if these would all work together. You know,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But I'm having them in there. So Alvin Martin, who joined us. Well, in the first team, 78, so he's another one of the later ones, but was with us in the youth team and from early 70s, I think. So, Alvin Martin, marvellous.
Absolute legend, living legend. Cool. All right, that's nice. Let's go into midfield then, Jacqui. Let's go sort of left wing. Who have we got on the left wing?
We've got Martin Peters on the left wing.
Yeah.
And that again, I could have picked so many people, but I wanted Martin in there. So because I wanted the Holy Trinity, which gives you a little bit of
spoiler alert,
one forwards, but there you go. I wanted Martin in there, and I had this idea that should I have a gap anywhere, I could put Martin in because he was one of those that played, I think, every position.
Sure.
And he was just, again, you know, it instilled that we're all right. He was sure and hard working, and you know, you just felt confident with him in the team. So
no, exactly. There's a funny story that I think it's Martin Godliman says in his one, and he basically got into West Ham because of Martin Peters, like fell in love with him, you know, and he was like, that's why, you know, he loved 66 Martin Peters. Who's Martin Peters play for, Dad? West Ham. All right, I'm a West Ham fan.
I'm a West Ham fan.
And then but obviously, you know, nowadays if a player moves from one club to the other, it's on Twitter, it's on Facebook, Instagram, you know, if you missed, you know, the news that day and he didn't pick up a paper, obviously when he'd moved to Tottenham, Martin didn't know. He hadn't seen it, and his first game at West Ham game was at Tottenham against West Ham. And that was Martin's, and he went and he turned up all ready to go, and then his mate showed him the programme, Peters, Tottenham. He's like, what? But
my God!
But it was so funny, and it just shows you
how
that's
things brilliant.
Happen.
Absolutely
Such a good
brilliant
story. But but you stayed with it. All right, we'll put Martin on the left. Who's going to go on the right?
I just wanted to say that I was struck. We've gone past that. We're on the midfielders.
Go back to you. Go back to you.
No, I was just going to say I wanted Tommy Taylor in there as well.
Yeah.
These are the ones that I, you know, and Alan Stevenson I loved. John McDowell, and I also toyed with putting Billy in defence. Yeah. But mine, you know what's going to come next, I suppose. If he's not in defence, I think you know where he's going to go.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Right, do you want my other winger?
Yes, go the other wing, yeah.
Is Trevor, Sir Trev.
Yeah.
Again,
lovely man.
Wonderful man.
Yeah. So, ahead of his time, I think, you know. Yeah. A in prime Trevor Brooking on, you know, the London Stadium bowling green would be something else. I think. I think that's what I don't appreciate is how good these players were on crap pitches. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and in crap weather conditions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, was weather worse? Weather seemed to be a lot worse those days? You know.
Yeah, I know.
Global warming.
And when I think back, you know, they had those bloody big clumpy football boots.
Yeah.
And the ball was really heavy. I mean, probably gone a little bit earlier than my time, but they still were.
Yeah.
You know, they were. So you've got all of that going against you, and they still played that skillfully.
Yeah.
So,
mental.
you know, they could definitely give this lot a run for the money
God,
if we could turn back time and give them lightweight socks instead of boots.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds great. Yeah, all right, we'll put Trev on the left.
We'll put Trev there.
Let's go in midfield then. I probably guess
me attacking midfielders. Well, I'm going to put the destroyer is going to be Billy Bonds, obviously.
Yeah.
Bonzo, my all-time favourite footballer. Absolutely love the man.
Yeah.
I just love him. And I know that he's going to be in most people's 11s.
Well, if they've seen him play, and that's what's great. That's what's great about this, because you're privileged. You're literally is probably the dream team. Whereas I started in '92, so like Billy Bonds, Bobby Moore can't be in. I can put in, you know.
Oh yeah, I forget that.
I can put in Roger Johnson at left. And, you know, so. You know, this is brilliant. So as you said, Bonzo, yeah.
I can't speak highly enough of him, and on so many levels. The man's just, you know, he really is. Again, like Trevor, they're just part of not just West Ham's history, but football history. I mean, they're still around, still, particularly Trevor. But and again, I've been so lucky, you know, to have. Met him, and you know what I should have done? I've got an absolutely brilliant picture that I had done by an artist who works in fabrics, and it's the iconic one that Steve Bacon. I hope you're getting Steve on.
Yeah, Steve's going to be on eventually.
The one where Steve, where he's got the bandage.
Yeah.
And that iconic picture. So I had that done into a portrait.
Oh, fantastic!
Fabrics. It's amazing. Too late. I haven't brought it up. So yeah, I've got Billy there, and again for the next is, let me have a look. Have I changed that one? No, I haven't.
Last minute substitution.
Oh yeah, again, just because I love him, I love the way he played, and I love him as a man, and that's Alan Devonshire. Dev is just wonderful. When he joined us, I think I'm looking because he was in my 76.
So he's in your group.
And also had I thought about Ticker Boyce and Patsy Holland as well.
Yeah.
Knows, but again, just because I love them. But
and someone like Dev, you know. Arguably the best football transfer ever, I think, in the world. For $5,000, you know.
Absolutely. What a bargain. But again, and you know, when I go and watch them on the circuits, Phil Parkes and Dev as a partnership, they're great friends, and they've got some amazing stories, and they're really good value for money.
They all are. All are, it seems. There seems to be this generational, you know, that, as you said, like Parksy and Deb, the whole, you know, obviously the boys of 86. They're all mates. They all still knock about together.
It's just so lovely.
You don't get that in the modern game anymore now. You know, it's like, I can't see, you know, Dimitri Payet being called up by Aaron Cresswell. You know what I mean? Like 20 years
time. Unless I put him in a side room.
Exactly.
Put him in a side room, and if you want to see Payet, he's in the back room. Yeah. You can go and listen to what he's got to say. But he won't be up on the stage, will he? No,
exactly. But I think it's a personality thing as well. I think sort of boys of 86 and you're sort of the 60s to 80s, say, you know, and I'd say maybe the last proper, I'd say, entertainment was probably sort of the early 90s of like Bish and Monks and people like that.
I've had to shut my mind off.
I know, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's trouble. You've got so many people
I know that Elwyn picked Monker, and I was just thinking, what a good choice. But you know, I had to stick with what I was deciding I was going to do. Otherwise, you could go all over the place.
You could be there all day, and I totally get that. I totally get it. But it seems that was the last sort of like period where there was a real person in football, not just West Ham, but football in general. It seems nowadays footballers are too professional, and you don't get stories of people cutting their trout, like crazy gang stories and things like that anymore now. But that's what football was, and that's what it should be. You know, it should be fun.
And also, you could bump into them in one of the pubs. You know, we go to the Black Line in a Plaistow, and you know, Moore and all of those were. I'm not sure whether he had a part in that, but Central, you know, people would go and they'd see their heroes, you know, which you wouldn't see. It's just become they've become untouchable, haven't they?
No, you're right, and I'm the same. Because I used to live in Loughton, and obviously Loughton was quite close, Tottenham and West Ham, and so in Essex. So you would walk and you would bump into. I remember vividly Paul Kitson in where was it, Woolworths, buying buying a bean bag full of pick and mix, and I was like,
oh, nice.
Should he be doing that? You know, but now you don't get there. They're all in like
you just
Canary Wharf and stuff like that now.
Or going to the club shop, the old club shop, you know, you'd see Bobby Moore would turn up there, you know, his Moore's shop, I'm saying. But great.
It's like what you're saying about it's like what you're saying. You know, they were like, you know, Lampard had a stall, John Charles had a stall. Yeah. It's incredible. You know, it's like that doesn't happen. You know, it's like it's incredible. Like what they had to do to make sure the bedies were covered in. But I
loved it. Yeah,
it's brilliant. Okay,
right. Part of that as well. You know, as I say, it was always good. You know, when I was a teenager and going to school, you know, I've said that before, but I'll tell you this story quickly because it's a good one. Right. But Frank, he came in one day and we had the end of term disco coming up. So obviously I told his mum and his sister, and they must have had a word with him. So he come over, when he popped in, he came over and said, do you want to pick a dress? Do you want to pick a dress? And, so, you know, heart's in your mouth. And I picked a dress, which was a claret, crushed velvet number with all ruched up the front, because it was all that period where Bieber and the maroons and all that, so it, you know, suited the colours as well. And it was just as simple as that and straightforward as that. I picked a dress. He said, no, you haven't got to pay for it. And that was the exchange. But of course, when I got into school, Frank Lampard bought me this. So it was like, I was the queen for the day, you know, turning up at the end of school disco in a dress that Frank Lampard bought me.
Love it.
So they were great days. But
great. Right.
Anyway,
okay, let's
get on.
Yeah, let's go up front. Who have you got as your first striker?
Right. My first striker is Jeff.
Yeah. Exactly.
And again, you know, I wanted, as I said, Jeff, Martin and Sir Bob to be
all in the same
back
team
together in the team anyway. But there's no one like Jeff Hurst.
No.
And so, yep, I'm trying to think who. Yep, and
I once had a wee next to Sir Jeff Hurst. I remember that.
Did you?
It was a sports...
Does everyone ask you the question? Obviously.
No. To be honest, they had these partitions on it. It was me, and I was between. I was like a thorn in between two roses. I had myself, and I had Sir Jeff on my left and Sir Clive Woodward on my right in the urinals. A very regal piss that was. And I think I said something about that.
Royalty.
Royalty. Most royal piss I've had. And they quickly zipped up when I mentioned that to them. Right, okay, so Jeff Hurst, who's Sir Jeff going to part with?
Now this one, when you said, you know, you gave me the instructions on how I picked me, and you'd think Billy Bonds would have been the first name that came into my head.
Yeah.
But this was the name that just popped in. He's going to be in there. He's going to be in there. And it's Clyde Best.
Yeah, Clyde Best.
And, you know, I sort of touched on it earlier.
Yeah,
I'm quite an emotional person, so I'm emotionally led by a lot of things. So I get quite upset when, you know, it's not good. Can't be doing with violence or any sort of abuse. I don't like it when people boo players or managers, even they might deserve it. I just, you know, it's not for me. And so, you know, as a young girl, I can remember this man for two reasons. One, because of the power that he had.
Yeah.
It was so unusual to have a man who was so strong, powerful, fast. You couldn't take him down. He was like a brick wall.
Yeah.
And he was good in the air as well. I mean, you know, and so one of my earliest memories is that, and I think that's the first time I ever felt, or, you know, this experience. But if you've ever been near the finishing line of a horse race,
yep,
and you get that pounding and everything vibrates under you, and it's that's what it was like, because we were quite near the front of the tunnel, you know, by the tunnel, and I can just remember that vibration of Clyde Best, you know, running past. But the other side of it is that I've never seen racial abuse like it.
Sure.
And so it was the full-on monkey noises, throwing bananas, and never understanding what that was about. And remember asking him, you know, my dad saying, you know, why are they saying get back to the jungle?
Yeah.
Why are they throwing bananas at him? Why are they making monkey noises? And there was no good answer then, except that he was black.
Yeah.
You know. And I can remember really feeling touched and sad, you know. So to have that, being introduced to that at that young age, and the unfairness of it and the injustice of it, really, really struck home.
Sure.
And I'm someone that's gone on through life, through my work, etc., that's always there for the underdog, or for any sort of injustice I'll fight. And you know, I'm still getting emotional now just thinking.
I understand. Yeah.
Because it was awful to, you know, and it's something, one of the things I remember is, which wasn't racial, but he tripped and fell, and they were all, someone shouted, he's tripped over his shoelaces, or something along those lines. And the whole crowd roared with laughter, except me, because I felt sorry for him. I was like, leave him, you know, that's how I'd feel. Leave him alone. Just stop picking on him. So that would be me. Always my heart in you know, whatever I was watching. It always has been. And so, and I haven't read his book actually, and I really want to. Have you read it?
No, no, not so close. No.
So it's on my list to read very soon. But I remember reading something about him, that through all that racial abuse, Bobby Moore, Billy Bonds, and Harry Redknapp were the ones that really helped him through that time, that he's always will never forget what they did for him, and how they helped him deal with that. And it sort of made me forgive Harry a little bit for what he done to my Bill. You know, Harry was very much part of the team, and I loved him as a footballer. But, you know, I'm not going to get into that. But you know, that was, you know, what happened later. But I was always grateful, and because they were all, you know, it was just terrible. So, but quite apart from that, you know, no black player, and to hear some, you know, that it still goes on, particularly in, you know, European clubs, particularly.
Yeah, definitely.
Just, I think, good God, how many years have we got to wait for it to move on? Obviously now we've got all this going on in
the States,
America. So again, that's you know, so he was, you know, again, a pioneer and just a fantastic footballer, and that's what should have mattered. That,
exactly.
And again, I remember John Charles saying that he didn't get racial abuse. People didn't ask you if you were black or white. They asked you if you were West Ham. So that was his experience, and I'd like to think that would be the experience for any player. What mattered was that you played for West Ham and you were West Ham through and through, and he was. Yeah. He was a fantastic player. So
he was, and he was, as you said, a unit of a man. You don't get that anymore now. Like that sort of like. No. I mean, even someone like Drogba, didn't have the size. He was, Clive Best seen pictures of him. He was an absolute unit. He could have played like NFL. He's that sort of
or a boxer. He reminded me of a heavyweight boxer, but in his prime. But and again, he's gone on to do such great things, and just really proud to have been able to be part of, and watch him. Again, just another lovely man, as well as a skillful, talented. I think all of mine are.
They all are. They're
nice people.
Yeah, well, I think exactly. And they come from a generation that was nice. Not saying the people aren't nice now, but it seemed definitely that by the stories that people were saying that era,
family men.
Well,
exactly. I don't know if I don't know that on record, but you that's the sense that you got, that they were we were okay with them.
Yeah, exactly, and that sort of fills the team very nicely, Jacqui. Jacqui, it's absolutely brilliant. It's been lovely talking to you.
And to you.
Lovely stories, lovely memories. I'm sure, particularly some of the younger fans would be really, will find it really fascinating to hear those stories. That someone who actually experienced, seeing Bobby, seeing Bonzo, seeing Clive firsthand, that doesn't happen a lot. Obviously, legends go with watching clips and stuff, but actually living, we're sort of recording all these memories for prosperity as well, which is nice as well.
It's a shame my dad's got dementia, because I would love you, and because he'll always tell the stories of going to watch West Ham when more or less the whole of the crowd was dressed in military.
Wow.
During those war years. Yeah. And, so he's got stories that he's passed on to me, and ones from his granddad. And I always look, when you get these old pictures of West Ham, and they're all flat capped up. And I always looked hoping that I'll see either my dad's face or my granddad's, but I haven't yet.
Oh, it's been brilliant. Anyway, well, here's maybe one day. We never know. Everything, now everything sort of crops up now. It's incredible. People. And obviously, thank you to Jacqui, but thank you to everyone for watching. Obviously, what to do. Share.
They're brilliant.
Thank you, Jacqui.
I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying them, and I'm sure everybody will. And thank you, and good luck with the rest of it.
Thank you, Jacqui.
It's again a part of history.
Yeah, exactly. So, thank you. And obviously, thank you to everyone for watching. And share, like, subscribe, and watch them all. And until next time, guys, take care and stay safe. For me and Jacqui. See you later. Bye-bye.
And you. Take care, everyone.